Character. We can't be saved without good character. You need to follow the commandments. It has to be in the heart. This man was a good man. This blind man. And we can see his character just very vividly when the Jews questioned him about his healing. It's really a marvelous thing to see a man who really knew nothing about Christ except his name, who was being, on the greatest day of his life, was being accosted and questioned, and there was hostility. His own parents were basically throwing him, shall we say, under the bus. And he showed such purity and such honesty and such courage, and not a little bit of humor as well. We need to have character if we're going to be saved. And this man shows the kind of character we must have. Because the Pharisees and the Sadducees who were doing all the questioning, they're like the press, and people can't get through. There was another time when a paralytic was lowered through a roof because of the press, because of the crowd, because the world makes it difficult. The world tries to impede us. And this is exactly what's happening here. The Pharisees, because of their jealousy, their blindness, their anger, their hatefulness, they're trying to find something to condemn Christ because he was merciful to one of their own. What an amazing thing to do. And this man showed such courage in the face of the questioning. Remember, the Pharisees basically controlled many things. If you were put out of the synagogue, then you were basically blacklisted. It would mean things for your well-being, for your welfare, for your business contacts, for everything else. It was a really big deal to be put out of the synagogue. And the Pharisees had made it be known that they were extorting from their own people obedience, by saying if anyone would say that this man is the Christ, he would be put out of the synagogue. Let's trace what happened to this man, and let's learn how we can be like him. So Jesus passed by. By the way, those words are not by happenstance. Jesus passed by. In another place, he also was on a journey, the Samaritan. And the man who was by the side of the road, and he was bleeding and dying and half dead, no one could help. Not the Levite, not the priest. No one could help. So Jesus, not by happenstance, passed by. This passing by is indicating his incarnation, his coming to earth to heal us. And we are all like the man by the side of the road, left half dead. We are all like the man who is born without eyes, blind, or like the paralytic, or like any of many other examples. Each of those persons is us. And it is not by accident that Jesus passed by this man who was born blind. Isn't it remarkable how much is contained in the Scriptures? Just a couple words. Jesus passed by. And it indicates the whole economy of our salvation. The incarnation of the Son of God. So that he would live the life that we must live to know God, and make us capable of living that life. So that he would address our every need, whether it is that we are blind, or whether it is that we are halt, or whether it is that we are laying by the side of the road half dead. Whatever our need is, he comes to help us with it. And here is how he does it. So he makes clay out of his spit, or he makes a ball of clay, moist lump of clay from his spittle and from the dust of the ground. That, by the way, is another indication of the incarnation, the dust of the earth. The man was created from the dust of the earth. And the divine light of God, the divine Spirit of God filled man. And he did something that we know in our tradition to be true. He made eyes for the man. He didn't just smear clay over him. He made little balls, put them in empty sockets. The man was born without eyes. Our services, our tradition makes this very clear. Now, as an aside, let me say something about this. A man born without eyes began to see. It is one thing, perhaps, to help someone that has some problem with his eyes to see, such as Paul, who had a problem with blindness on the road to Damascus, but he was healed of this blindness. But he still had eyes. How can you make a man to see who does not even have eyes? Only God can do this. No wonder the people were saying, he looks like him, but I remember someone who didn't have eyes. What does this mean for us? There's nothing impossible with God. If he can make a man see who doesn't even have eyes, don't you think that he can help you in the things that you need in your life for which you see no solution? Many times this verse has given me, or this passage has given me much comfort, because there's a lot of things that I just don't see the solutions to. I have no idea how it's going to get done. I have no idea how things are going to get better. But God knows. And I might think that these three pieces are needed to get something done. But with God, he needs nothing. One would think, if one was a doctor, in order to help a man see, first I have to have eyes to work on. The Lord doesn't even need eyes. There is nothing that the Lord lacks, and there is nothing that the Lord cannot give. So let us believe this. Now, by the way, you don't just say, okay, snap my fingers. Now I believe this, that's right, I have perfect faith now. No. Faith is grown. Just as this man had his faith grown. And how did it happen? The Lord makes his eyes and tells him, go to the pool of Siloam. Well, of course, water. Baptism. Some types in Scripture are rather easy to figure out. With baptism comes healing. The man was not healed until after he washed. If he had not gone and washed, he would not have been healed. Remember the story of Naaman the Syrian? And he wanted some great thing for the prophet to tell him to do, and all he said was, just go into Jordan and dip yourself 7 times. He wanted something great, something big. And he wouldn't do it until his servant basically said, you've got to do it. And then he was healed of his leprosy. The same thing here with this man, except this man didn't complain at all. He just stumbled over to the pool of Siloam and washed and came away seeing, because the waters of baptism cleanse and heal.